I got money on my mind. I'm just trying to get some dough. I ain't picking up my line unless it's money on the phone.
With investing, literally that's all me. Like it wasn't me like consulting with someone. Like this is just something that it piqued my interest whenever. So the Toyota internship was my second kind of like internship. I was working at a aerospace company my first go around, but the Toyota one, that's kind of like when I was kind of like exposed to like coworkers investing in a retirement plan and stuff like that. So I'm looking at that, not really knowing what I'm doing, but I'm always about taking action. So once I did a little bit of research, looked at Vanguard, I think at the time, I don't know if that was true or maybe I just misread it, but it was like, you to invest in this mutual fund, you need to buy in at 3K. So I saved up 3K and I purchased that Wellington fund. And from there, like it wasn't like I did a massive amount of research. I kind of just probably looked like at the last 5 years. I saw it was like trending upwards. I was like, all right, bet. Let me just go ahead and put the money in this. And then from there, I did a little bit more research and to get more invested in what I was doing. But in the beginning, it was more so just taking that action, taking that step to do so. Luckily for me, it was a mutual fund instead of one stock. So like with a mutual fund, it's more so of a slow growth, which is for the most part always going to go up. A stock, it could immediately, went down or whatever the case was. But uh, investing with me, that's never really been a concern. Like the failure part of things, it's always how can I go about gaining and learning more. And that's part of the reason why, even not with just stocks, but in real estate in general, I can say I've touched a lot of different factors in real estate because I'm always interested in seeing for myself how this all works. So yeah, I mean, with the internship, I want to say it's probably through coworkers, seeing them talk about retirement accounts and being interested in Googling Vanguard account and going from there.
But that's smart that you had that foresight to say, let me go see what they're actually talking about, man. Let me see what. Did you kind of hear about them taking hits, taking losses because of around that time, or were they kind of talking about, yo, I'm about to get in and make this bread?
Well, you know what? I honestly can't tell. So I don't. It's hard to tell because like I don't think I heard anything about losses or anything like that. But I do remember this from that time period. Whenever I invested in that, around the same time, Netflix was doing the whole thing where they did the first price increase. And I don't know if y'all remember when Netflix did that first price increase, everyone went ballistic. Their stock dropped. Like it got to a point where Netflix actually recanted their initial price increase and it went back to normal for a little bit. And so that would have been like the perfect time to actually get back into, Netflix. You obviously y'all see what the price is today, but yeah, like I specifically remember that happening around that time frame where Netflix had made that mistake of increasing those prices, and customers were not happy at all. Like people were leaving, canceling their stuff, and shoot, even for me, I don't think maybe I was invested in Netflix, but or like used Netflix, but yeah, that was just crazy. But I don't think I never heard anything negative about investing in the stock market. I don't think that would have deterred me, but yeah.
So I kind of want to get into after your first year of working, you said you bought a property. What was that process like, buying your first property?
Yeah, so with buying my first property, man, like for me, I was in a one bedroom apartment at the time. I lived out in West Texas, so it's still fairly cheap out there, or at least this town I was in. And I was like, I know that I have enough money, or I know that I wanted to own stuff. And so I'm looking at different properties. Didn't really know much. Like I literally went on Craigslist and like looked for properties. And that's how I found the house, from Craigslist. Looked at the property. Dude said it was like recently renovated. So I was like, all right, cool. Reached out to him, went to look at the property. It was very unique, had a like nice little rustic look to it. 2-bed, 1-bath house, had a storm cellar. had an actual additional lot in the back as well. Like it was a nice little place, especially for, someone like me. So, initially he wanted, so just to talk numbers, he wanted the house for 65,000. I was able to negotiate it down to 60,000, but to be honest, like me saying 60,000 wasn't because I knew something that it wasn't because I knew how to run comps or anything like that. I was just like 60 sounds like a good number. let's go let's go with that. And so like we got down to 60. So I went with Bank of America to get the loan. Just through my parents, I've had a long relationship with Bank of America, and I've always had good credit, and I've always been good with saving my money, so there was never really an issue there. So whenever Bank of America ran the appraisal, they came back at 58.5. And so I was like, well, I'm not about to pay the difference from 60,000 to the 58.5. So I went back to the guy, told him that, and we ended up settling at a purchase price of 58.5. So that appraisal actually helped me out.
I love your story, my brother, for both investing and this first property, because I think it's some example that a lot of people can just learn from, in that you didn't have it all figured out. You ain't had everything, all the knowledge. Like, I think a lot of times we get analysis paralysis. We stop ourselves from doing shit. And the only way you ever going to get past it is by actually doing it. So I love that example, in that, like, you would have never known that house was worth less. You just was guessing.
I was guessing. I said 60 sounds like a good number. Let's go with this. They agreed to it. It was good. We would have been Gucci. We would have closed on that price, but the appraisal came back lower. Shoot, that helped me out even more. Obviously now since then I've become a lot more knowledgeable about what all was going on. But yeah, even then, so ended up at 58.5. Moved in, and like I said, 3 months later, I got a new job opportunity down these outskirts of Houston, and I knew I wasn't going to sell the house, but my manager at the time, like I said, his wife was a property manager or a realtor, and I knew something about them should be able to help. She was like, well, I know this girl. She's about to start her own property management company. Maybe y'all can, do whatever. She's a realtor as well. So we spoke. She said that, she said I'll be able to get $800 a month on that house. My mortgage was like $550 or something like that. So, she gets the 10% off of that. And, the cash flows is very, very small, but it's there. Is there. And so and you're talking about a property that I had zero knowledge of how to actually structure a deal. So, I would bought it better or whatever the case was. So, I was all right, cool. And, this was in 2014. I haven't been back since. And I still have that property, still cash flowing, still chugging along, and haven't had any vacancy issues. If any major stuff that happened, like roof problems or anything like that, insurance is taking care of it. So like that one property has been a fairly good investment. It hasn't appreciated much just because the area doesn't appreciate much over there. But the cool thing about it is, like, for example, now I buy for cash flow. So if appreciation happens, that's just the cherry on top. The cash flow is the most important thing anyways. So yeah, it's been six years now, and still chugging along on that first property. I still haven't been back to see. I need to go just check it out and see if I can get some other stuff around there. But yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, man, go see your roots, man. See what started it all. So what was that next deal like? After you purchased that property, was this like, okay, I think real estate is really where I want to focus? Is that kind of what happened?
No. So what was crazy? And I came to this realization the other day. I actually tried to get into wholesaling, but I didn't know that's what I was doing back when I was living down in West Texas. Because I never actually closed on a deal, but I spoke to a few people trying to get their house on a contract, but I didn't really understand the concept of if I get this house on a contract, how the hell I'm gonna get the money to get it sold? But the people, like, I found some people on YouTube that I joined their academy or whatever the case was, like, oh, we'll take care of that. And now that I'm knowledgeable now, like I see what was happening, but I was like, dang, but like wholesaling, that honestly, that thing really isn't for me, because I really don't like talking to people like that. I just like kind of like being on the back end of being that buyer, and just trying to make some things shake on the investment side of things. But yeah, so with real estate, like I said, my biggest thing is trying to own as much stuff as I can, control as much stuff as I can. So whenever I moved down to the outskirts of Houston, I ended up buying a house out here. And with this time, I bought it with the intention of, if I had to move, I know I'll be able to rent it out, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
I was in my head, it's like, if I have to move, because the thing, a lot of people kind of like have this myth in their head that if they buy a house, they're stuck. You can't move. It's like, well, if you buy correctly, you can move wherever the hell you want. The problem is, a lot of people want to buy their forever home real early. Mm-hmm. Most of the time, you buy your forever home, it's not going to make sense number wise to get normal rents. Mm-hmm. Nowadays with Airbnb, it's a little bit more possible, but especially back then, it's like, if you buy, you got to buy and make sure that your rent will, at the very bare minimum, cover your mortgage and some of the other things that you'll be able to take care of. So I bought in the suburbs down here in Houston, and still have that property too. And then after that, I got into my first rehab project, and that story is crazy. So like I said, I used to work at a refinery, right? Every morning I'm driving down to the refinery. I see this old ass motel ran down. Every morning I'm driving past it. I'm thinking to myself, like, man, if anybody would be able to get this thing and fix it up, like, they'll make a shit ton of money, because this proximity of where that motel was to the refinery, you're 1-2 minutes away from it. So I'm driving past it. I was like, fuck it, let me find out who this person is. And I was there. I don't know how I found out who it was. I think I was able to find it out through some of my connections with real estate. But I found out that person. I searched him on LinkedIn. Well, I think I was trying to see him on Facebook, but I found him on LinkedIn. Looked at his page. I saw that he graduated, got his MBA from UTSA. I was like, boom, this is my way in to have that conversation with him. So I reached out to him, DM'd him on LinkedIn, and he reached out. Obviously I brought up the whole Roadrunner, like that's our mascot, Roadrunner. And he was like, yeah, man, no one's trying to contact me about selling a property, but I'm willing to talk, blah blah blah. So we chop it up about the property. Come to find out, the city had rezoned that particular property. So if he were to sell it, you can only build like an industrial kind of like warehouse or something on that lot. So that wasn't going to work, but that was owned by his dad, who had a crazy amount of properties around there. So he inherited a few properties that was in that location, but he lived in Colorado Springs. So he ain't local, you know what I mean?
You don't want to deal with it.
So he has a couple properties out here. And then so he had one more that was close to the refinery, and he was like, I was thinking about rehabbing it, but we were in the process of rehabbing the other one. But I don't know. We'll try to talk it up. So, after some negotiations, I ended up buying one of these houses that needed to be rehabbed from. And like I said, it was down the street from where I worked. So it was like literally a great opportunity. And I knew once fixed up that the place was perfect for rentals. Mm-hmm. And so I knew the numbers would work. And so this is where theory and reality comes into play. Mm-hmm. Because in theory, this is where, and it was crazy. It's so crazy how still some of this stuff kind of like you kind of learn some of the verbiage. So the BRRRR strategy, right? Mm-hmm. I didn't understand, not understand it, but I'd never really heard about it. But when I saw this property, that's what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. So I didn't know the BRRRR strategy was a thing, but I knew that was the strategy I was about to use. So I bought the place. I was going to rehab the place. I was going to refinance the house once once I did the forced appreciation, And then I was gonna rent that thing out, but through that refinance, I'll be able to get the money that I put in back. Sure, I could go get another property. Now I'm in this property for free. You know what I mean? And now it's paying me for whenever, until I decide to sell the house. So went into it with that. And it was crazy because like I said, it was my first rehab project and it was going real smooth, first couple of months, real smooth. But the issue was I was paying the contractor just in draws. It didn't matter what work was done. And that was my first mistake. Because it was crazy. I actually reached out to Petway Estates. Petway Estates. I reached out to him and I was like, yo, this is back when they was kind of like giving their toolbox stuff for free. So, I was able to get some of the information as far as like contracts and stuff goes. And I was like, oh, I got it. And I saw the contract. I was like, man, everything's going smooth right now. I'm going to just do it on the next property. And I'm telling you, like maybe a week or two later, I paid out the third draw. All of a sudden, my contractor goes ghost. Like no calls, text. If he'll be like, oh, my subcontractor got hurt. He'll be back like in a couple of days. Wouldn't answer calls, starts going ghost. And I'm like, because I found him through one of these Facebook marketplace or Facebook groups, real estate Facebook groups. So I'm typing out, anybody work with this guy? Then that's when he finally reached back out to me because he wanted me to delete that post and all that. He started talking about, my subcontractor screwed me over and this and that. I was like, man, that ain't got nothing to do with me. I'm the one that paid you to do the work.
And you just ran off of my damn money.
And you ran off with my money. So, I probably paid him around like $30K worth of work. He probably did about half that, to be honest. Yeah. So like, man, I'm scrambling now to, save up a little money to finish up the job. So I had to use a one-man band pretty much to fix all the interior because he did the original contractor did all the outside work, but the interior still needed a good amount of work done. So I ended up like having to hire this guy to, I ended up purchasing the material. He'll go in and, in a sense, fix it up. So it took a while to do that, but I learned how much material costs.
Yeah.
That whole process was interesting itself because like even then, like for example, I bought laminate flooring, man, right before this dude was about to put that thing in, got hit. Someone stole all the damn flooring. So I had to go back out and get, do it, what I'm saying? So I've learned
this first rehab was hell.
So I learned so much stuff from this rehab, but it allows me to kind of like learn what to do, like kind of like going forward in the future, right? So at the time, like I was frustrated, but I knew that this would tell a great story in the future. And now here's the future, you know what I mean? So so I was able to finally finish out the property. And one of the things, because with the BRRRR strategy for most lenders, your loan has to be seasoned 6 months before they actually do the refinance. So for me, I would have finished it in like 3 months. Technically, I still would have to wait 3 months before I could do the refinance. You know what I mean? And so that kind of played out in my favor because I ended up finishing it around that 6 month time frame. But the problem was, even though I did do the refinance, I was still kind of out money because of what happened. I had 35 to put in for the rehab stuff, but now I'm all in like 50. I instead of 35, it was closer to 50 that I had to put in for rehab. So those numbers kind of messed up, but I ended up suing them, and I got like liens on his house and stuff right now. So if he ever tries to sell, I'll get my money back some way, somehow, or through that sell for sure. But I just learned so much from that project. But the thing about it all, even with all this headache, right? And even through all this, like there was never a doubt in my mind, like, oh, I'm quitting real estate. I'm done with this. Like I said, it was just a part of the process. But yeah, through it all, like I learned so much, and I learned that real estate can be forgiving. Because through all of this stuff, I'm still getting cash flow from the house to this day. I'm still getting cash flow from the house to this day. And so in a sense, I can, wait for it to appreciate to get to a point where I can recoup most of my money. But in the meantime, you know what I'm saying? At least I'm getting some money back.